Czechoslovakia in crisis, 200,000 people on the streets.
You're watching Sky World News Tonight with Scott Chisholm
And Alison Holloway.
Czechoslovakia's hardline communist government is facing its deepest crisis in 20 years, with the biggest demonstration in the capital since 1969 demanding its downfall. More than 200,000 people, 1/5 of Prague's population, have been marching through the streets, demanding free elections and calling for a general strike next Monday. The feared Czech riot police stood back and watched as the marchers chanted "Enough, enough," and "It's the end," in a reference to communist rule. In a statement tonight, the regime said it was prepared for a dialogue, but warned that no solution could be found in an atmosphere of anti-socialist demonstrations. East Germany's leader Egon Krenz has called off a visit there tomorrow. Tonight, more than 100,000 East Germans are marching through Leipzig, reiterating their demands for reform and, in a new move, calling for the two Germanys to be reunified. They rattled their keys in a warning to their communist rulers that they're prepared to force open the door to democracy. The whirlwind of reform sweeping through the Eastern Bloc is shaking the Czech communists' foundations. This was the fourth major protest in Prague in as many days, each larger than the one before. For the first time, the official news agency this evening reported the demonstration quickly and objectively. They could hardly have ignored it. Only half the numbers were on the streets back in 1969 to mark the first anniversary of the Soviet-led invasion. "You were elected by tanks," they chanted tonight. "We don't want you anymore." They called for the communist regime to resign before it was swept away by the flood of people power. The people are flexing their muscles in other ways too. Those students not on the streets today started a sit-in in secondary schools and universities, medical, technical and nursing colleges. Yesterday, a packed audience in the National Theatre listened to a protest statement read out by the performers and then joined in singing the national anthem, accompanied by the theatre orchestra. It was particularly significant. Culture in Czechoslovakia has always played a more important role in politics than most of her European neighbours. And the leading Czech dissident, Václav Havel, says coal miners are going on strike from Monday, the first such action stage since the 1968 uprising. It's the same people power that brought down the hardline East German regime last month, and why the East German leader Egon Krenz has called off his visit to Prague tomorrow. He's back in East Berlin trying to convince his people that he's one of them. He's moved into a modest suburban house and invited the cameras for a visit. He told his East German interviewer that when he warned his predecessor that reforms were necessary, he was sent on holiday. "It was the worst holiday of my life," he said. Today, he's been trying to sort out his country's economic woes in a meeting with a top West German official. Mr. Krenz knows only too well what his communist neighbours are going through.
Well, as the demonstrations were underway in Czechoslovakia, Romania's President Nicolae Ceausescu was making a firm stance against reform, and in doing so ignoring calls for change from the Soviet Union and Hungary. 71-year-old Ceausescu told the opening of a Communist Party Congress that he and his party would not bow to pressure for the kind of reforms now underway in Poland, Hungary and East Germany. Ceausescu's address was met with cheers from more than 3,000 delegates at the 5-day Congress. Instead of heeding advice for change from other Eastern Bloc countries, the president announced plans to increase Romania's military strength.